Stephen Jones ain't slick. I brought that to light this morning on my video towards the end of his interview with 105.3 The Fan around the 12-minute mark, where he mentioned some things that I thought Cowboys fans were overlooking. Today, I'm going to do a better job of transcribing what I tried to do this afternoon, and I'm going to go in a little bit more detail for you and tell you why, in his words, it's not over yet, but free agency for the Cowboys is over, at least until May 2nd. Why that date is very important, and why what Stephen Jones said means that they're most certainly looking to make a significant trade happen during the draft. I feel like most of the time, the NFL wants that product to be what it is, right? And they want to steal the headlines and steal the show for the entire world. And so I feel like it wouldn't shock me if there were some deals that were already sort of agreed upon in principle if and or when this player X here gets to this potential, they've got some things set in stone, I think, because he just keeps being a little bit more transparent than he usually is. And Jerry Jones is still a little bit more quiet than he usually is, right? So all that to say, there's a different view in here. I feel like most people have sort of the front on camera. My wife was in here helping me tidy this place up and get it to the original standards that we had sought for whenever we had it built out here. Life just kind of happened, and it got put on the back burner. So we just kind of threw it all together as far as how I wanted the studio set up to be, to look, to be presented, to feel. We're gonna redo it. This time we're gonna redo it right. So you're seeing a little bit different view here, but I figured why not be different, right? We're in the process of kind of mixing some things up behind the scenes. So let's try it. Let's shake it up a little bit. You guys let me know what you think. If this camera angle just is absolutely horrible, you don't like it, let me know. You like it? You think it's different? It's cool? Cool. Let me know. So anyway, change is good, by the way. Get outside your comfort zone a little bit. I think that's where growth occurs. I'm Lando. This is Sports Below the Surface.
All right.
And today, like I mentioned, I'm going to tell you why May 2nd is so significant and why Stephen Jones ain't slick. Right after this. So he said solidifying depth so that they can draft pure. Okay, I'll get this pulled up for you guys so you can listen. I want y'all to make sure you're on the same page with me right here. And you can see my dirty, fingerprinted, dusted up computer screen. Oh, AOC wasn't wrong. Take a listen right here, about the halfway point of this clip. If it'll load. You don't want to load for me today? Come on now. Come on, X. Come on, Elon. Elon don't want to help me out today, I guess. Try it this way. Here we go.
I think it's necessarily some players that can really be of value to us next year. I feel like we've done a really good job of really solidifying our team in terms of depth, in terms of being able to draft pure in the draft. I think we got a lot done this off season and
solidifying depth so they can draft pure. That's another punchline, by the way, that I want you guys to pay attention to, okay? At least be thinking about. Don't forget everything I've been writing as far as offensive line at 12. I wouldn't completely rule that out. I also wouldn't rule it out if they trade back, like we're talking about here. Why free agency is on hold until May 2nd. But the draft, then it's not over yet, continuing to add to their team draft trades. And I think it's not outside the realm of possibility at all that they've got some things set in stone. But if they don't, then this is also applying some pressure. This is a bit of a chess move, I believe, from Stephen Jones. Somebody said that earlier today, and I do agree. It might have been during mine and Foots' live live show. I think he said that. Shout out to Foots. A chess move. Because now all these teams that, could potentially be hunting a quarterback, say Jackson Dart, Shador Sanders, right around in that range, maybe Pittsburgh, right? I talked about the George Pickens trade with the Cowboys. The Saints coming back in from the end of their, they obviously have the 9th overall pick, but jump back up again if they wanted to. There's a few other teams that could potentially be interested. But solidifying depth. And then he goes on to say it's not over yet. So what I want people to pay attention to with that is, as far as transcribing Stevens, solidifying depth. They created competition at right guard, but that doesn't mean that they're necessarily satisfied with the talent there. If they feel that they can get better, which has been my point all along, left tackle, right guard, should do it. Especially if that player that falls in their lap, whatever pick, wherever they end up selecting from in round 1 or round 2 or wherever, is the highest graded player on their board. Nothing on their roster, and Stephen Jones just said it again, their moves have indicated it, and I've continued doubling down over and over and over again. Tea leaves, meta-analysis, listening to what they're saying, watching what they're doing. They can absolutely upgrade, but this is all depth. So they're going to look for every position. They can get better. Everything is on the table. Okay, but here's the thing. Here's the key. Okay, the comp pick formula. Right? If a trade is going to happen, if a move happens between now and next Thursday, it's going to be via trade. Because trades don't affect the comp pick formula. After May 2nd, when the comp pick formula is no longer in effect, then we'll, the Will Hernandezes of the world, the Asante Samuels of the world, those types of people will come back in play. Because of the comp pick formula. So I've done a little bit of digging, a little bit of homework, I guess. Just sort of tallying up their transactions and free agency so far this season. Let's do a refresher. This is something that I'm always tracking closely and talking about in all my content across all social platforms. By the way, shout out to the official partner of the Lando Show, Waggle, getyourwaggleon.com. This little QR code that you see right there. Let me minimize that. That's kind of crazy. I don't even know how to do it. You can play this back. Oh, that's because it's on overlay. Okay. Oh, that's actually the old one anyways. Disregard that, guys. Okay. Scratch this. Here's the official one right here. That's the new one. Scan that code and it'll get you 10% off on the best, in my opinion, the best and fastest growing golf apparel company in all the land. Right. Waggle Golf, code Hazel10. Speaks for itself. Trust me. Just scan that code out. You'll understand right away what I mean. They are different. They're doing it different. So a refresher on the comp pick formula. What do you mean, Lando? Well, comp picks, right? And I was trying to say this as simply as I possibly can. They're picks awarded to teams as compensation for free agents who exit and go somewhere else. Leave your team for a new destination, right? The Cowboys are very calculated with this. They're not the only team, but they obviously have depended more upon the draft in recent past than maybe anybody, as much or more than anybody else. A bit of a change in philosophy. This year, let's just say they broke their previous historical trend a little bit. It's a competitive balance thing. Okay, so the comp pick formula is actually not technically disclosed. Like the NFL doesn't disclose how exactly they go about calculating it, but in layman's terms, right? Just picture the size of the APY. Anything north of, I don't know, say $5 to $7 million per year is usually going to grant you a comp pick. But the kicker is, and that's why why I wrote so deeply and I was so invested so heavily, like just as philosophically speaking, in Jonathan Allen. Because guys who get cut before their contract expires, they don't count against the comp pick formula. So like if they would have signed Jonathan Allen, he wouldn't have negated any potential compensatory draft pick for the 2026 class. Okay. The most any team can get in any particular year, as far as comp picks go, is 4. The Cowboys usually have at least 3 of them. This year they had 4 of them. Again, because of the guys that left last year, right? Dante Fowler Jr., who is now back with the team. We'll talk about him in a second. Tyler Biadasz, Tony Pollard, Tyron Smith, and Dorrance Armstrong, all qualified for comp picks. But that's 5 players if you're counting. The NFL only rewards a maximum of 4. So anytime you have a surplus, right, the Cowboys are doing this math in real time, right? So it's like, okay, we have 5 now. That means, we got money. We can go spend it, and it's not going to matter because we can't have 5 comp picks anyway. So we might as well go sign somebody, and it's not going to count against the formula, right? So they'll still have the maximum of 4 in theory. Okay. So now let's just break that down. So hopefully you guys understand what that means for the most part. And if not, feel free to leave a comment. Send me a message on Twitter at the Lando Show. I'll do the best I can to answer any questions. I really do try to get back to your guys' questions, but I promise you, I will not ever be able to get to all of them. So if I miss it, please just know from the bottom of my heart, I apologize. And I'm not ignoring you. I really do try to answer as many questions as I can. Continuing on. So this year, where are the Cowboys at? What are they projecting to look like as far as comp picks are concerned? Okay. And if you're interested in hearing about more draft day trades, I've written and YouTubed, talked about Courtland Sutton being a 2-for-1 option, getting the Cowboys potentially landing Courtland Sutton and Omarion Hampton as a result of one trade. Same exact scenario, same exact trade type at 21 for George Pickens and Omarion Hampton with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Steelers jump up to 12, seeking, say, Jackson Dart or Sanders. Cowboys move back 9 spots, get George Pickens as well, and still take their highest graded player. Maybe that's Omarion Hampton. Maybe that's an offensive lineman. Maybe it's the highest graded player on the defensive side of the ball. Who knows? And yes, I'm very well aware of George Pickens' locker room concerns, right? And that's totally fair. But I'm just trying to get you guys to think outside the box right now. George Pickens and Omarion Hampton added to this team, this roster, would be electric, by the way. Assuming that they could kind of reel them in a little bit. But as I mentioned, worth noting real quick before we finish our comp pick discussion. You might like to imagine that maybe, just maybe, George Pickens would be, I don't know, maybe just a little bit more, a little bit less outspoken, or a little bit less with the antics he actually had for once in his career. A little bit of quarterback stability. Damn! Just a thought, maybe he'd probably be a lot happier in Dallas. with Dak throwing him the football than Mason Rudolph, Kenny Pickett, Justin Fields, and Russell Wilson at this stage of his career. A little bit of an upgrade there. But needless to say, the comp picks, right? Jalen Ramsey still a possibility as far as a draft day trade. Jair Alexander is another interesting one. There's clearly some the road between him and the Green Bay Packers is a little bit bumpy, just to say the least, right now. Clearly, that's a gettable asset if so choose to go that route. I personally prefer Ramsey just a little bit, but we can talk about that on another video. So as of right now, the Cowboys have lost in free agency. Zack Martin, retired, released. So he's on the list. He wasn't a free agent, but DeMarcus Lawrence, Brandon Cooks, Trey Lance, Jordan Lewis, Cooper Rush, Chuma Edoga, Rico Dowdle, and Chauncey Golston. So of that list, I've identified 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 guys that would most likely, if not definitely qualify for a comp pick. Okay, so let's go through it. Number 1, DeMarcus Lawrence, 3 years, $32.5 million with the Seattle Seahawks. Most definitely comp pick worthy. Jordan Lewis, 3 years, $30 million with the Jacksonville Jaguars. It's $10 million APY. Most definitely comp pick worthy. And let me just give you a little bit of just for instance, Tyron Smith's $12.5 million last year, his APY would have been good for a 5th round comp pick. Okay. Same thing with Tyler Biadasz. His $9.75 million APY would have been good for a 5th round comp pick. And shout out to Patrick Nosey Walker, by the way, who did this science. He already had it done for me. DallasCowboys.com, Patrick Nosey Walker, one of the best in the business. He has it very cleanly laid out as well. Very, very good read. Very easy read here. Dante Fowler's $3.25 million APY granted them 6th round comp pick. All right. And then Tony Pollard's $7.25 million APY was also. So basically, anywhere between $7 and $12 million APY, you're talking about anywhere between a 4th and a 5th round comp pick, probably. Comp picks, by the way, go as high as the 3rd round and as low as the 7th. And anything below $7 million, between $3 and $7 million, probably going to get you a 6th or a 7th. Okay, so right now, we've got, like I said, 4 names. DeMarcus Lawrence, $32.5 million for 3 years. So that's north of $10 million APY. It's a comp pick. Jordan Lewis, 3 years, $30 million. That's 10 on the dot. It's probably a 5th round comp pick. Okay. It's definitely a comp pick, just not sure about the round. I guess it'll depend on what other teams. The NFL has a formula. Like I said, it's not necessarily disclosed to the public. We just kind of have a general idea. Chauncey Golston, 3 years, $18 million. So 6 APY. That's between 3 and 7. It's probably a 6th or a 7th round comp pick. Okay. That was with the New York Giants, by the way, where he signed. And then Brandon Cooks, 2 years, $13 million. So do the math. That's between 4 and 7 million APY. It's probably a 6th or 7th round comp pick. So that's 4 right there. Now, the other side of that formula, right? There's two parts of this equation here. Okay. Free agents that the Cowboys have brought in. Robert Jones, 1 year, $3.75 million. That's going to be right on the verge, right on the line of what does and doesn't garner one. Remember last year, keep in mind, I want to be fair here. Dorrance Armstrong. Wait, I'm sorry. Dante Fowler signed for $3.25 APY, and the Cowboys did. They were granted a 6th-round comp pick. So in this instance, Robert Jones signed for more than 3.75. So, or I'm sorry, than 3.25. He signed for 3.75. So that's a little bit more than what Dante Fowler got, which still last year granted the Cowboys a comp pick in the 6th round that they have this year, right now, next Thursday. I guess it would be actually Saturday when they spend that 6th-round pick. But so let's put a question mark by that one. Okay, so we've got +4 from guys that left, and we have a question mark from guys that they brought in right now. So it's 4 and a question. Second guy, let's pull up Dante Fowler's APY real quick. I'm using Spotrac.com. They're usually a really reliable source as far as money and contracts are concerned. I love their stuff. Okay, so this year, that's right. He signed a 1-year, $6 million deal. Good for him. So APY, that's double what he got last year. So that's for sure going to cancel out one of the 4 that the Cowboys have for a departing free agent. So we've got 4, a question mark, and a -1. So we've got 3 and a question mark right now. Let's continue. Kaiir Elam, they traded for, does not count against the formula. Kenneth Murray, they traded for, does not count against the formula. Jack Sanborn, Mr. Sanborn, what's your APY, my friend? I want to say he was under the Mendoza line here. 2 and change, maybe? It was cheap. I remember that. Yeah, 1.5. So that's the veteran minimum for a player of 3 years of experience right there. Yeah. That, by the way, if you guys weren't aware, it's something that's an easy way to like look up what a guy can sign for just based on the league has another formula that's kind of like, it's almost like a credit to a guy who's hung around long enough. Like the more tenured you are, the higher your bare minimum annual salary can be. So he got 1.5 because he's got 3 years of service. That one's not going to qualify. So we're good there. Okay, so we still have 3 and a question mark with Robert Jones. Who else we got? Also, Joe Milton trade does not count. Solomon Thomas, that's a good one. Look at what I know he got. He was actually the only guy who signed for more than 2 years. Solomon Thomas. Okay, he's right on the dot at $3 million APY. So he's less than Robert Jones. We're going to consider him a non-cancellation. Okay. I think we're still going to be pretty good there. He might be close. So let's just say for right now, 3 and 2 question marks. So bare minimum, at worst case right now, the Cowboys are still surplus of 1. But I don't believe Solomon Thomas would cancel out. I really don't. Okay. Next name, Peyton Turner. $2.5 million APY. Not going to count. Good there. Who else do we got? And by the way, guys like Devontae Turpin, he wasn't an outside free agent. So he doesn't count against the formula because he was already in-house. Same thing with Osa. Same thing with Brian Anger, the punter. And guys, I believe that's it. Same thing with Brock Hoffman too, by the way. Javonte Williams, that's the other one. What did he sign for? $3 million on the dot. So I feel like, guys, and so just so y'all are aware, right? We're all very critical of the Cowboys bargain shopping. I told you guys why. I wrote about this early, and it did really well. Like I got a lot of great feedback from it. People just sort of thanking me, I guess, for that perspective, right? Because you always hear about people just crapping on the Joneses, right? But nobody actually. It's not popular right now or cool because of the way that the last few years have gone. And then for a lot of fans, they'll tell you the way that the last 30 years have gone. And I get that. But they'll tell you, or it's not cool to compliment the Cowboys when they do something smart, like good business. Right. There are quite a few examples of that in recent history. But people just don't like to talk about it. Okay. But that's one of their foundational philosophies, guys. In free agency, yeah, they're a little bit, I guess, frugal, if you will, from outside free agents. But there's a reason for that. They're more willing to spend more in free agency. Stephen Jones loves to tell you that they always spend up to the cap, right? He loves to talk about that when it's just there's levels to it, right? But they spend very low outside free agency because of the comp pick formula. That's why they're bargain shopping. Unless they know that they're going to be in a surplus. So like they kind of pick and choose. But after May 2nd, guys, all this stuff goes away. So it's no longer about draft picks anymore. I should have done this live. Maybe I'll just do a live first thing tomorrow morning. So I'm going to schedule this. You guys are going to be watching this. I don't even know why I'm telling you. Nobody's here. This will get scheduled, and then I'll sort of watch the feedback and see. I mean, I'm sure we'll end up touching on this. Scott, listen, guys, you ain't finding this type of – nobody's talking about this anywhere else. My guy Nick's, your guy Nick's, he would have been. T and I were having this discussion, but I told him, I was like, dude, I just started writing about this. Like I had already been concocting this entire project here. Comp pick formula goes away on May 2nd. So let me skim through. Pretty sure this gets copyright hit now, but I like this beat. So I'm just going to play it for y'all. And if it gets, if they flag me for it, I'll have the YouTube people, the YouTube lords, just kindly remove the audio for me. But for right now, at least one time you guys are going to hear it. While I figure out, I'm going to skim through my notes real quick right over here. Make sure I didn't leave anything out important. I kind of feel like I just went off on a few different tangents here. Anyway, I'm going to shut up. Give me 30 seconds, y'all. Oh, yep. I knew it. How could I even think about forgetting to talk about Tyron Smith real quick? Thought it was it's kind of funny. A couple Hall of Famers from the Cowboys offensive line. Arguably two of the most dominant Dallas Cowboys at their position for the duration ever. In my lifetime, since I've been old enough to watch what's happened, like, let's just say since I was 12, when I could really process football, started to kind of like understand team building and stuff like that, which at 12 I didn't, but 18, I started to kind of fall in love with it a little bit. That's still around 13, 14 years. So right around the time Tyron came into the league, right? Who you putting over those guys? Okay. Needless to say, both Ring of Honor inductees without question, both first ballot Hall of Famers without question, retiring in the same offseason, and both have the same thing to say about one Dak Prescott. I just find it very interesting. Two guys, two Hall of Famers, two Ring of Honor inductees, two Cowboys legends, Zack Martin and Tyron Smith, each make it a point to go out of their way at a retirement press conference to mention Dak, single him out specifically. And about as glowing of a review as you could ever possibly receive, but to receive it from two first ballot Hall of Famers, who also, by the way, and this is where it gets interesting, do with this information what you will, probably a grain of salt for most of you. Both of those guys played with Tony Romo and Dak Prescott. And yes, Tyron mentioned Tony's name in the beginning as far as guys like that he'll remember when he first walked into that locker room, all that stuff. But he didn't talk, he didn't dive deeper. He didn't elaborate on Tony. Zach Martin didn't either. This is no shame whatsoever on Tony Romo. I'm not sitting here trying to dog on him, but what I am trying to do is dog on the people who still can't even, they couldn't think about saying a single nice thing about Dak Prescott for some godforsaken reason. Tyron Smith and Zack Martin each played with Tony Romo and Dak Prescott. Tyron Smith and Zack Martin each specifically singled out Dak Prescott and said, that's QB1. Tyron went on to say a few other, and by the way, it's because of the leadership, the character, the discipline, the mental toughness. That's why that guy has all these things, all the players that matter the most significant people in that organization, and even the NFL as a whole. The players, the coaches, the executives. And in particular, the Walter Payton Man of the Year award panel. They know what Zack Martin and Tyron Smith know about Dak Prescott. Right here. What you can't see, what they don't talk about. They being them. The intangible trait, which is ultimately, in this sport, the most important. The most important trait at the most important position in all of sports. The very one that we cannot see. We're only just now getting to a point to where we can kind of measure it a little bit. The S2 Cognition Test. CowboysCountry.com, Landon-Holifield, S2 Cognition. Google me. Read about it. It's on TikTok too. It's on everywhere. You can probably search those same like keywords and find it everywhere. 2 years ago, I believe, is when I did the first project on it. But just wanted to reemphasize for the same reasons that I touched on Rory McIlroy. Dak Prescott is viewed and perceived the way that he is publicly. Because failure sells. Why does failure sell? Because failure is common. To the common man, they can't fathom what it is that those guys do on a daily basis. Those guys being, in this particular instance, Dak and Rory. The man in the arena, the microscope that they're under. They being them, as far as media creating this narrative about them being incompetent, unqualified, overhyped, whatever. False. I haven't rapped on this subject in a long time. As you guys can see, I'm pretty passionate about it. The fake take, TV, clickbait stuff. Can't stand it. That's why you're here. Lando from the Lando Show with sports below the surface, peeling back that onion, digging a little bit deep, giving you guys the truth for the true fan, because that's exactly what you deserve, but it's rarely what you get when you turn on your TV. So you got to come places like this. Places like Foots the King. Places like Vosh Lombardi, Law Nation, Attack on Cowboys, AOC. My guy, we're going to be doing some work here soon. Promise. Blues Takes, who I've just worked with for the first time recently. Incredibly talented. Guessing my mic or my camera just cut off. No telling how long that's been off, but I hope you guys have been enjoying the audio. My bad. I've been rapping so hard that I didn't even look, check, and see. I'm gonna refresh this. Give me 10 seconds and we'll be back. So there's the internal camera. Now let's get the Osmo working. There we go. Back like we never left. Anyway, I needed that. That felt good. I needed to say that. Been kind of, I guess I've been internalizing those thoughts for quite a while. I haven't spoken about it publicly in a long time. That one felt good. How about one of those epic Dak Prescott rants? I guess I've been long overdue. I don't know. Failure is common. Failure is what sells because it's what relates to the masses, because the masses aren't successful to the level that these guys are. They aren't 20% successful to the level that these guys are. That's probably still generous. You like seeing people. That's why the saying, misery loves company. You can relate to it. That's common. The man in the arena under that microscope, y'all, I'm telling you right now, most people cannot fathom the mental fortitude that it takes to slow your heart rate down, to execute your job, the most difficult and the most important job in all of sports in Dak Prescott's case. And I would argue the most difficult sport on the planet in golf, in Rory's case, because it's only you. And this right here, what nobody can measure, is most important. And it is you versus you. So if you ain't right up here, you ain't got a chance to even think about winning a Walter Payton caliber man or Walter Payton Man of the Year award, to even think about being I don't even know how many All Pros Dak has now. I think 2, maybe. You have 2? Look, let's be accurate here. I know he's been in the MVP running twice, so that's where the number 2 came from. I honestly am not really I don't really pay attention to like player accolades until they retire. Kind of weird. I don't know why my brain does that, but I'm not like a stat nerd, I guess I would say. Okay, so he's just got 1. This is 2023. But to even think about playing to the level, mastering the position for this organization, America's favorite team to hate, right? To get Peyton Manning and Aaron Rodgers to say the things that those guys have said about number 4, you got to be pretty, at the very least, remarkable, right? And don't think of that word outside of its literal definition. It's worth remarking over. It's worth acknowledging. Right? You can tell me, sit here all day, and I won't necessarily disagree with you. You say whatever you want to say. Like, I don't care who you think's better than Dak. I'm not going to argue with you about that, because at the end of the day, it is still the ultimate team sport, right? And there's much more context that is almost always applicable to any player in any situation at the quarterback position. Back to Tyron, and we'll close. Should have done this live. I'm sorry I didn't do it live, guys. But hope you're enjoying this. If you are, join the almost 5,000 people. I think we're about 800 and change away from 5,000. It's the first like real big milestone for me on this platform. 70 plus thousand strong, cumulative, all across my other socials. So, I mean, you might hate me, you might think I'm wrong, you might disagree with everything that I've ever said, but I'll tell you this right now: 70,000 plus people ain't wrong. All right, and I don't want that to sound more than I intend it to be. It just means that I really take pride in this. I really do my homework. I really study. I really do the best that I can to be a medium between fan and reality. Fan and your favorite team. That's me. That's what I like. Played at a professional level. See the sport differently than most. That's not to be arrogant. I had a cup of coffee with the Milwaukee Brewers, and then I bounced around in indie ball. Nothing to rave about. All right, but I know a thing or two about discipline, perseverance, sports psychology. And that's, I think, internally in its simplest form, that's my true passion. So believe me when I tell you that your perception, the public perception as a whole, of the guy that wears number 4 for America's favorite team to hate, under the largest microscope in all of sports, at the most important and most difficult position in all of sports. 2 first ballot and surefire Hall of Famers, 2 Cowboys legends that retire in the same offseason, Zack Martin and Tyron Smith, ain't wrong when they play with Tony Romo and Dak Prescott, but they specifically singled that guy out, number 4. That's why you can ask my best friends. I've never wavered on number 4 because I know what he's got right here. And that's what's most important. Death of his mother, death of his brother. Snapped his ankle in half. countless other things. Admitted publicly, and screw you, Skip Bayless, for saying what you said as a rebuttal towards him, for fake take clicks. You arrogant piece of.
All right, yeah, get him the hell out of here, will you, please? Get him out of here. Throw him out.
That's for Skip. When Dak spoke up about his mental health because of everything that he had gone through, and to still be able to follow all that up with an MVP caliber season. Yeah, he hadn't won it in the postseason. I get it. That pisses me off too. I know it pisses y'all off. Imagine how Dak feels. How much that drives him. Drives him enough to be expecting his second child and still not even really full, not even close to being fully through the full offseason. Say full one more time, Lando. Doofus, it's time to go to bed. And still be able to shed anywhere between 8 and 15 pounds, contrary to the ridiculously outlandish reports of him losing 30 and 50. You heard it here first. Actually, you heard it from Mike Fisher first, who got the act like he, knows a guy who watched him step on the scale because he's that plugged. CowboysCountry.com. Who said it's actually really closer to about 5 pounds. But he's in fantastic shape. The rehab, expecting their second child, season-ending injury, following arguably the most embarrassing playoff loss in Cowboys history at home to the Packers. Still grinding, still locked in, still in the best shape ever. No days off, not slacking, no complacency. Should tell you something. There goes my camera again. Hope you guys enjoyed the audio. Because, man, this thing does me no favors. I got to get this figured out. My guy, Lou, he thinks he knows how to help me solve it. So I'm in the process right now. You'll just bear with me. And we will overcome. We will fail forward with perseverance and discipline. And now it looks like I'm frozen. Anyway, you guys you're gonna get FaceTime cam till we close. And just, luckily enough, we are done here. It is time for me to go to bed. I hope you enjoyed this show. This has been a blast. Really enjoyed this one. Join the 70,000+ and counting. Help me close the gap to 5K. And tell a friend where they can find me. Because chances are, if you enjoyed this, then you know somebody else who will enjoy it just as much. Don't forget to scan that QR code. Go to getyourwagalon.com. I'm ashamed to say this is the first show, YouTube, short form, or otherwise, that I haven't had on some form or piece of Waggle clothing. But believe me when I tell you, they are the best in the business. As far as they have something that's for everybody. You don't have to love golf to love Waggle. And that code, 10% discounts built in. You don't have to worry about typing in a code or anything like that. That QR code will do it all for you. The discount will automatically be uploaded. My golf company, Hosel and Hack LLC, will benefit from that. So you're helping me in a couple of different ways here all at once, which is awesome. And I really appreciate you guys. I can't thank you enough, actually. But that concludes this one. I will be back tomorrow. This finishes. Make sure you're following me and turn on the notification bell so that you can see whenever I go live. Whenever discussions like these happen, I wish this was a live form because I would have. That's when I get really I got into my bag tonight. And I can't wait to do it again in a live setting. live interaction, feeding off of you guys. That's when I'm at my best. I was able to kind of tap into it a little bit tonight. So that was cool. Remember, guys, you're always forgiven and never forsaken. Prayer changes things, and the war is already won. Happy Easter, everybody.